The death of Colin Powell, the response to the death of Colin Powell by a certain former president, and the totally predictable, hysterical response to that statement by a former president regarding the death of Colin Powell, has sort of moved me to think about certain things. And interestingly, about a week or so ago, my mind flashed back to an incident from several years ago that probably the younger of you, the youngest of those out there, might not remember quite so well, but you'll definitely know the meme that it inspired, which is the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" guy. So how is this connected to the death of Colin Powell and what Trump said about Colin Powell being essentially a neocon, lickspittle, rhino, and the media's response to Trump's admittedly not very politic, not very classy kind of statement, but true, as far as what he had to say about Colin Powell. This is a guy who went to the UN and blatantly lied about the weapons of mass destruction thing, and thus helped to ignite one of the many destructive wars that resulted in the deaths of millions of people, including thousands of servicemen, and plenty of Iraqi civilians as well. So that the media would just go to bat for this guy. Okay, maybe the occasion of his death isn't the right time to express one's disdain for his misdeeds, but at the same time, come on, why are you white knighting for this guy? No racial pun intended. And this is how it all relates back to the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" guy. The extent to which the establishment media is so up the arse, so to speak, of the establishment political figures. The way in which they just think that someone, because he was a politician, because he played a role in national politics and was a high-profile figure, they think for those reasons that he should be someone who's looked up to as a statesman, and it's just to do something like what Trump did and say, draw attention to the many things that he did wrong. Now, I'm not saying this to be like a Trump guy, because I'm not a Trump guy. I'm not an anybody guy. Think what you like, but it's the truth. But the extent to which we see this kind of behavior, this kind of obsequious behavior on the part of media types is, it's pretty sickening. And this all relates back to the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" guy, because although we haven't lost the great statesman John Kerry yet, he's still with us. Nevertheless, the context for the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" moment is not known by many people. The meme is widespread. It's out there. It's everywhere. You've probably heard it. I would be shocked if you haven't heard it yourself. Even if you have absolutely no idea where it comes from. But here's where it comes from. John Kerry was speaking at the University of Florida on Constitution Day in 2007, and a certain student, and I will link to this story. I'll link to a video about this story below if you want to want more of the nuts and bolts of the details of what went down. But there was a certain student who got up and, yeah, he was kind of autistic. His behavior was a little, he wasn't a smooth, polished kind of person. He was a little bit strident in the way that he presented himself. But it was a Q&A session, and he had some cues for John Kerry, and he asked them, and his first question was about voter fraud in Ohio that got swept under the rug, and he wanted to know why Kerry conceded the election so quickly. And then what happened after that was he asked John Kerry, "Are you a member of Skull and Bones? Are you a member of the secret society Skull and Bones?" And then right immediately after that, if you watch the video, immediately at that moment, they yank the microphone. Right after he mentioned Skull and Bones, they yank the microphone. Now, I'm not going to go into Skull and Bones, what it is, and I don't want to get too off course here. But again, please look into it if you're interested. So after asking these questions, they pull the microphone out, and these guards come up and start putting their hands on this guy. And yeah, okay, you could say that this guy's annoying. He's strident. He's got a voice that's not the most pleasant to listen to or anything. But what has he done that makes it worthwhile for these cops, these guards, to put their hands on him and restrain him and start pulling on him and start behaving towards him physically in a way that was completely unjustified under the circumstances? And of course, his response was to say, "Get your hands off me! Stop! I didn't do anything wrong." Again, watch the video. And they respond to that by saying, "Oh, you're resisting, so stop resisting." They hold him down on the ground, on the floor, and that's when one of the cops has one of these glorified cops, one of these campus police guys, has got his taser out, and that's when he says, "No, don't tase me, bro, don't tase me." And then you hear him getting tased, and John Kerry is up there, hasn't said anything since this all started to go down. He didn't even say anything like, "Hey, it's okay, I'll answer." He said something about, "I'll answer the question," but he didn't say, "It's okay, stop doing that" to him. He was here to ask a question. He asked a question. Leave him alone. Instead, he just watches, and everybody just watches, and some people are rightly appalled as this college kid who asked a question about Skull and Bones gets tasered, and you hear the electric currents going. You hear the bzzz as they're tasing him. Now, why does this worshipful attitude towards Colin Powell today bring this to mind for me? Well, at the time, people's response to this, people like Bill O'Reilly and other types, other neocon types, was to say, "Oh, this idiot got what he deserved, and he was being a nuisance," and so there was that kind of response to it, and then there were other people who just thought it was funny. And I'm not going to say that it's not. I'm not the joke police. I don't think there's that when you have an impulse to laugh that's ever wrong. Humor is not right or wrong. Humor is like a reflex. It's something that happens. You can't control what you laugh at. So yeah, there's something in the situation of saying, calling the campus police who's about to tase him bro and all of that, and in the tone that he's using, there is something comedic about that. But I think what I thinking back on this feel bad about is that at the time I just sort of thought this was funny. I in no way realized the import and the significance of what was going down here. He asked about skull and bones. You don't ask a bonesman in public about skull and bones. Tim Russert, who worked for one of the networks, so I don't know whether he was worthwhile at all, but maybe sometimes some people get through who are okay, or who are well-meaning or whatever. But during the 2004 presidential election, he asked both George W. Bush and John Kerry. He asked both of them, "Isn't it strange that the two men running for president are both former members of Skull and Bones, this secret society at Yale for the rich and powerful?" He asked them both this question, and it wasn't too much later. It wasn't too long after that he died of a heart attack. It was a few years later, so maybe it was legit, but still, there, one gets the impression that he touched the third rail in a way that was frowned upon. And at this particular event, this college student dared to mention that same thing. He dared to call attention to the fact that this sham of a representative democracy aside, that we are not ruled by our elected representatives. That in fact there is a group of people who considers themselves the elite. I don't use that term elite in a way that is lionizing them or saying that I believe them to be above me or above anybody else, but I think they believe themselves to be that. And obviously John Kerry is one such person who is a part of this group. And it was the fact that this kid mentioned Skull and Bones that brought on this completely unjustified response that ended up with him getting hit with a cattle prod, getting electrocuted. So what is that? What do we draw from this? What conclusions do we draw from this? Well, it would seem to be that if you are in public and you ask somebody who is a member of the acknowledged elite, somebody like the group that John Kerry and George W. Bush and Colin Powell and others belong to, you ask them questions that bring, that you're not supposed to ask, that show that you are cognizant of their status, which is not supposed to be something that's drawn attention to. Well, you have to be made an example of, don't you? I don't think it was any accident that they pulled his mic right after he said the word skull and bones left his lips. I don't think it's any accident that they tased him in public and made him into this figure of ridicule. And I guess that, just speaking personally, even though I had nothing to do with that incident at all, I sometimes marvel at my own lack of my own just thickness. We all know certain things at certain times, and other times we're generally ignorant. And back in 2007, when this happened, I just thought, no, this is not that big a deal. It's just kind of an amusing meme, and all these people who are talking about, oh, this is a sign that America is a fascist nation or something like that. That they're just so deluded, and they're so around the bend. And that was me back then, and I was wrong. I was very wrong, and I'm ashamed of myself. Again, not that this is about me, but anyway, people like John Kerry and George W. Bush and Colin Powell, they will get lionized. They will get kissed up to. They will get treated with nauseating, repugnant obsequiousness, while anybody who draws attention to the fact that they're members of a group that is given power and authority that is not in any way legitimate. Anyone who draws attention to that by talking about things like Skull and Bones, or when people talk about the Trilateral Commission, or Bohemian Grove, or other kinds of events or occasions which give the game away, well, they're just to be treated with contempt and scoffed at and made memes of. So this many years later, 14 years later, I'm going to hand it to the Don't Tase Me Bro guy. I think, and I apologize, mea culpa, maxima culpa, for the way that I thought about you and others like you back then. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what you think below. Thanks for watching. My name's Andy Nowicki. Please check out my fiction and nonfiction work at altrightnovelist.com. You can find my latest book, The Insurrectionist, at terrorhousepress.com. Thanks for watching.